Mic check 1 2, it's the Boba Joe crew. Mark Lennon, Johnny Sorensen coming straight to you. Talking classic eras, yeah, we setting the scene. Films, games, tunes, toys, you know what I mean? From the old school vibe, feeling so divine. Boba Joe show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic, from heads to the toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Mortal Kombat, Predator, Scarface in the flow. Miami Vice Vibe, MacGyver on the go. Alien screams, NBA Jam all night. Pro wrestling legend, shining ever so bright. Macho Man Randy, Ric Flair. Yeah. Show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic from head to toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Action figures lined up, ready for the fight. Ninja Turtles power shining ever so bright. Transformers roll out, masters of the universe. Classic memories can't be reversed. Yeah, baby. Boba Joe, that's the flow. Boba Joe, Boba Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, DX and the D-O-double-G Road Dog, Jesse James, proud to bring to you the Boba Joe Show with Mark Lannon and Johnny Sorensen, coming straight to you. If you don't like that, we got 2 words for you.
Chess. Those are our 2 words. You ready to show me your big gun today, Johnny?
Locked and loaded.
We'll be a couple of degenerates and just have tons of double innuendos and, you know, talk about big guns and big Johnsons interchangeably. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have here's a couple of acres. But yeah, well, warning, I suppose that we have to give people a warning because it is an Arnold film, so there will be bad Arnold impressions throughout the show.
Will be hilarity, there will be bad puns.
I think are we setting a record here? I think at this point Arnie definitely has to be our most featured actor on the show.
He does, doesn't he? Because we've done Terminator, well, 2 Terminators, Predator, and possibly something else.
All the way.
Yeah.
And
there's more to come. We'll definitely be talking about Red Heat at some point.
Yeah, it's Last Action Hero. It's another John McTiernan film, I've just realized. So we've done Die Hard.
I don't remember that until I was watching and look at the credits. I'm like, oh, John. Apparently he wasn't, when the project started, he wasn't attached, but at some point he became attached as a director. So they're making fun of some of these films that he's directed, and then the guy who they're making fun of ends up being the director of the film.
It's Last Action Hero. It's a troubled production, to say the least, this movie. By all accounts, we've had change in producers, change in directors. We've a bad release date that's going to coincide with at the same time as Jurassic Park, and it's going to.
Oh yeah. So hang on. So what was it?
93, the initial 94? Release. 93, I believe.
So I'm looking up to see what was America, because at the time movies in New Zealand were up to 6 to 12 months later. That much of a lag. Now it's like a month at my best. Release date USA. So they're saying 93 June, so mid-year June of 93.
It's getting gobbled up by Jurassic Parks.
Yeah, for sure. Like I saw both at the cinema. Well, I saw this at the cinema, which I forgot until we picked this for this week's topic. It had gone from my mind. This was something I actually did see at the cinema. And Jurassic Park I saw twice. And in my mind, I saw so many films back then because it was $5, and I just went to everything. Went Wayne's World 2, and So I Married a Max Murder, anything and everything, like Matrix, anything that was in the 90s was out $5. I just went like every week for like years. I saw so many films. I saw more films at the cinema than I did on VHS rental because it was about the same price or cheaper just to go to the cinema than actually rent a film.
It was a great way to kill a day. Just go into town, grab some snacks.
Plus, they had like Street Fighter and the little mini arcade outside the Hoyts 8 back there, and you know, you had Tekken 3, you had Street Fighter 03, you had Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. All that stuff was, as well as pinball and those stupid claw machines.
Yeah, this movie, it was slaughtered at the box office. It was kind of largely panned. Maybe not is too strong a word, but it was definitely not well received by critics.
I can understand that by film critics.
I don't really give a shit about either of those two things because I'm just happy enough to get to watch it and enjoy it because I always enjoyed it.
I love it. I loved it then, and I've always liked parody and satire stuff. And I think this film has aged very well. Like when I watched it again this week, actually I watched it twice this week because I fell asleep one night. I watched several films one night, and I'm like, I was going to watch this the next day, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll put it on, even though it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm getting up again at 5. I'll put it on. I watched half, and the next day I thought, I'll watch the second half, but I just started over again because I was enjoying it too much, and I watched it all the way through again. And I think it's aged really well. It's got beautiful, the set, production design and set design is fantastic. There's so many different styles and scenes, set dressing, lighting. The cinematography, it's not something you think about in this film, but the cinematography is just visually stunning and really beautiful in this film. If you're a film lover, there's not a wasted frame in this entire movie from beginning to end. Everything there has a purpose, looks good, sets the scene, and it reminds me of like Roger Rabbit in the way. There's all these different tones. There's like cops, there's good guys, there's bad guys, there's pastiche and parody stuff. And there's some quite serious stuff that's actually like fairly depressing and kind of horrific in the second half, more than you think from this kind of lighthearted parody action movie thing. It's got everything. It's got comedy and serious stuff, and it's got Schwarzenegger doing some of the most Schwarzenegger isms of any of his films.
It's kind of like we've said it now for a couple of different films you've reviewed. It you'll get out of it. You know, based on the type of person you are, you're going to get different things out of it.
The more films you've watched and enjoyed, the more you can enjoy this one because there's just so many layers in it. Like even his hair, they've given him artificial grey temple. He didn't have grey hair back then. Like given him grey temples for the character.
I suppose just to we'll get into the nitty gritty of it, but just to give people kind of a broad overview in case you haven't seen it, the movie. It's essentially a young child called Danny Madigan. He has a rough life, and his only outlet really is going to the local cinema and watching movies. There's a nice old guy called Nick who lets him come in, I'm guessing for free, and watch movies when he really should be going to school. And you know,
he bunks off school. He goes there in the day. He goes there at bloody midnight and all kinds of crazy times.
He's also, you know, he's got a mum at home. She's worried about him. He's always disappearing off to go to the cinema. And the movie is essentially about him gaining a magic ticket. Nick gives him a magic ticket that grants him the power to actually go inside the movies. And he's transported inside the world. Yeah, it's a ticket that was supposedly given to him by Houdini. So yeah, Danny Madigan, he goes inside the movie world. He's watching the Jack Slater movie, the newest Arnold Schwarzenegger extravaganza, and he's accidentally transported inside the world of the movie, and this leads to all sorts of crazy shenanigans and lots of just general fourth wall breaking and parody.
It's a really clever film.
All sorts of fun stuff. It's really clever. It's really well done.
The first half sets up the characters, the young kid. Here's this golden ticket like Willy Wonka that like it lights up and accidentally takes him into the film. So then it reminds me of Roger Rabbit and Looney Tunes. It's film world, film logic. You can punch or get explode like the Warner Brothers cartoons and not die. And the good guys always win and the bad guys always lose. The second half of the film, Jack Slater, who's the fictional character Arnold plays in the film within the film, he comes out of the movie with the boy. At first, he thinks he's crazy because he's like, "Oh, you're telling me my life was a movie? Like, you're crazy. You're a crazy kid." All of this. But then he finds out he knows all these things. Like, he's omniscient, knows all these things that he couldn't possibly know about Jack Slater, his family, about how his cousin died at the start of the film in this location, and identifies the house because he watched it in the film. The second half, Jack Slater comes out of the film into the real world, and at first he's like just going around doing stuff like normal, but then he's like, he punches something and it hurts. If he hits glass and it breaks, it cuts your hand instead of not hurting you. And everything has consequences. And if you shoot somebody, the cops don't just magically turn up in 5 minutes like they do in the movie world.
Yeah, the real world is a lot grittier and darker than the movie world. But no, we'll get into it all. It's a wild concept for a movie. It's very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It might have hit a bit differently. Maybe even if it came out 3 or 4 years later, it may have been a little bit more appreciated.
Yeah, the timing definitely sucked. I don't really think about it, but in retrospect, yeah, the timing sucked. There'd been earlier or later, people might have got into it more, but it's one of those ones that's definitely, it's become, I think it's fair to say it's become a cult classic on the DVD market and rental market and stuff like that.
I think Danny Madigan, as a character, like the kid, he's kind of fairly representative, I think, of a lot of kids at the time. We were all watching these action movies.
I see elements of myself where I was always going to the movies by myself. And like the year this movie was out, I watched this movie by myself. Nobody else was there because I had nothing else to do. And I'm like, I'm going to the movies. I mean, this wasn't traumatic. I love going to the fucking cinema. I'd ride me push bike from where we lived down the road. I could get there in less than 20 minutes. So every weekend, I would just be like, great, Saturdays, I'm watching cartoons in the morning. Then I'm getting on my push bike, ride down the road, play a video game while you're waiting for the cinema session to start, and then watch the movie. And different years, I met some other mates and started hanging out with mates at the arcades and back at their house. But for at least a good 5 years, like I was just going solo, going to the cinema by myself. And it never bothered me. I never gave a shit. Like to this day, I probably prefer to watch movies by myself because I like to actually watch the movie and not talk or look at my phone or any of that shit. The only movies I really enjoy more with people are comedies. Like if you watch like Funny People or Happy Gilmore or some, Life of Brian, watching comedies with other people is good time, just laughing and all that. But dramas, I'm like, I don't care. I'm happy to watch by myself. I want to actually watch the story and not, fuck around on a phone or whatever.
Yeah, it's and it's not even just the kind of culture of going to the movies, but also the type of movies you're going to watch, because it is acknowledging the fact that even though he's a young kid, he is still watching a lot of R-rated action movies. He's very aware of, like, he knows what Terminator 2 is. Like, it's not like he's just watching these PG-13, or going to watch like Disney animated movies. Like he's going and watching, those violent action movies that we all love as kiddos. It's just, it's a fact of life. And it's kind of like a real acknowledgement of, well, you might put age ratings on these movies, but, kids are going to watch them and like them.
Or if you're like me,
and this movie,
I watched Hellraiser at age 12. I watched Pokemon when I'm 18. I'm like, something's not quite right there.
yeah. You're straddling both extremes there, But even as a movie itself, like The Last Action Hero, it walks a very fine line between being, technically suitable for a young person to watch, or maybe being, just
it's
going
got
over
a few
that
swears
PG-13
and adult humor and references to sex and birth control and infertility and stuff that really goes over your head as a 12-year-old. But watching it as an adult, you're like, oh man, there's a lot more humor and other things I never got as a kid of this.
Pretty violent, but it's not explicitly violent. Like you're not seeing squibs going off.
It's acknowledging 80s violence like Commando, Predator, Rambo, RoboCop, but it's definitely in the 90s where it's like, we haven't gone into the politically correct era where everything gets like crazy and stupid and reactionary. It's still just that right middle edge where it's violent enough, but not, you're not going to see like intestines exploding or nothing stupid like that. It's just violent enough, but not too much.
There would definitely be, like, I know it was maybe a little bit dodgy back in the day, But these days, you'd never get away with a story where it's kind of like presented as an okay thing that this young kid meets an old man late at night in
Yeah.
the cinema. You know, it's,
I didn't even think about that, but like early on in the film, he's alone by himself. Like he has his mother, so let's bring up the image there. His mum is like, they're living in New York, and it's in one of those, you don't know, there's a lot of close-in shots early on. You don't know exactly where they live. But when she leaves, they go out a door. It's one of those horrible New York multi-level apartment buildings, but like Seinfeld, but like the shitty Bronx neighborhood version of Seinfeld, basically, with narrow corridors. And when they go out, there's one of these big, did you recognize the big jack thing that was against the door? There's like a big, gigantic 6-foot crowbar. That's to stop someone just kicking the fucking door in. That's why that's there. Not so like Jimmy the Lock, but people just kick the fucking doors in. That's why they have that. Because that's to stop the force of a big adult male just breaking in. And when she leaves, she's like, I'm going to work now. You stay in here, be safe, lock the door, don't let anyone in. You think, like you'd say to a kid. You'd say it to any kid now. But this is like full on New York, where it's full of like, it's almost, there's a little bit of that 70s Taxi Driver New York, where it's like junkies and hookers and weirdos and homeless dudes in the street. It's genuinely fucking dangerous. And a guy does bust into the apartment because he opens the door for 2 seconds and the guy with a knife fucking breaks into the apartment and tries to rob them.
Yeah, he lives in a right kit, it feels like.
Yeah, because they obviously don't have money, and she's working hard, single parent, and it's, you know, it's very relatable. They're in a poor neighborhood.
And that dude, he breaks into the apartment. He complains that they don't have anything really
They don't have any
valuable.
shit worth stealing.
Yeah. So he traumatizes the poor kid. But you know what the worst thing is, and once again, this would never be something that would fly today, is that the cops let him go home by himself.
Yeah,
like,
that,
you know,
was,
like, oh,
that was really shocking when I watched that. And then I'm like, yeah, it's New York. They don't give a shit. There's so much violent crime. Like, we don't have time to drive or walk you home. Just fuck off, kid.
Of course, his mother is going to be really, really worried. We're going to find out later on that, you know, she told him.
And his mother's a good mother. She's not neglectful. She's like, a good mother. Yeah, we live in a tough place. Don't fuck around. Lock the door. And immediately he opens this bloody door like an idiot.
I'm always getting like different actors mixed up in that. But is she like the mum from Big? She seems really familiar. Like she's in other stuff.
I don't know if I've seen her in anything else.
But anyway, she's a good mum and a good, you know, character. But yeah, like definitely a couple of things there that these days, yeah, you're not going to get away with that type of malarkey. Let's see here, Danny Madigan.
I don't Mercedes. She was one of the ones I couldn't find her easily, so I'm looking it up. Oh, it's Mercedes Raul. Okay, yeah, I know her name. She's known for the Fisher King.
I don't know the Fisher King, unfortunately.
Oh, really? Like, yeah, it's one of those in New Zealand that played on TV quite a bit. It's got, I want to say it's Robin Williams and who's the other guy in that? Blah, blah, blah. You got directed by Terry Gilliam, Robin Williams, and Jeff Bridges. Not confusing with Jeff Daniels. It's like two when you're reading credits. Yeah, I don't even know because it wasn't one of those ones that played on TV when I was a kid on repeats all the time.
Young Sonya Blade in this movie, of course, as well.
You know, did you spot? I've watched this movie so many times, but it's the first time. Well, I mean, I haven't watched this in at least a decade, and I watched it twice this week. But previous times in the 90s, other than Mortal Kombat and like, you know, she's in Happy Gilmore. We knew her as the hot teacher in Happy Gilmore, knew her as the hot Sonya in Mortal Kombat. But other than those, I don't know any other particular roles for her. But I certainly know her name. And when I was watching it again this week, there's a bit where in the film, within the Jack Slater film, there's introducing Meredith Caprice. That's not the character, that's the actress name. However, right next to her, under this Jack Slater standee, it says Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I was like, wait a minute, yes. What's going on here?
Well, yeah, it doesn't follow any rules. This movie when it comes
Yeah,
to
no,
mixing
I just it just for a second it took me out of the film. I'm like, why didn't they use her actual name? Unless I don't know, unless there was someone else going to be in the role, and it was like a kind of placeholder name until they had someone in the role or something like that would make sense. But I couldn't figure it out. I was just like, I get it's a movie and there's all these meta jokes. But I'm like, well, if we got the standee of Jack Slater is Arnold Schwarzenegger being a film within the film, why is she not Bridget not got her own name? It was quite strange. But I like her a lot as the daughter in this film, and it's almost like you know, she's part of the main cast, but it's almost like a cameo appearance because it's a very screen time is quite short for her in the film, but it's quite memorable. And she answers the door thinking that the young boy is some kind of fraternity new member or pledge or whatever it is, and like kisses him, and it's definitely like the teenage boy wish fulfillment fantasy. Here's like the hot girl with the cut off shorts and the pads of the hair, who's the daughter of the action hero, like kisses you. It's the moment she meets you.
And we do get that. She does kiss Danny, of course, when he comes to the door. He's very smitten with her.
He's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because he's just a kid.
Look, as a young boy, I was quite taken aback by her as well. I must say, you know, I'm on the same page as Danny in that respect. But yeah, just do you find when you're watching this movie, I know every time I watch it, I always have the same thought, and that is, wouldn't it have been great if we actually got a real Jack Slater movie, like an actual Jack Slater movie where they...
I mean, probably two thoughts there. Like, yeah, I would generally watch an actual Jack Slater film from the 90s would work. That would be fun. I would also be quite happy to see, hang on, if I find the image here. I would happily watch Schwarzenegger's Macbeth any fucking day. It's like, to be or not to be. He throws the skull at the guy, throws the guy out the window. And it's typically like over the top of that 80s fashion. But like, even back then, I'm like, sign me up, man. I want to watch that movie. And like, genuine film critics would be like horrified at the idea. However, if we think back to the 90s, and we had this in media studies class, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes. Yeah.
It would totally fucking work. Schwarzenegger Macbeth. It would totally work. Give me Baz Luhrmann directing Schwarzenegger and Macbeth any fucking day and I'll watch that.
Give me a Quentin Tarantino directed Jack Slater
Baz Luhrmann, that stuff. That would totally fucking work. And like some people will be like, oh, horrified at the idea. But like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, that was massively fucking popular. And we actually watched it. Actually, there was a group that went, I think it was an English class, actually went to see it in school. I didn't go, I wasn't there, or didn't money, whatever the hell it was. I wasn't there. But I remember there was actually a group went to see it, or it might have been optional if you wanted to go. Back when they had to get parents to sign permission slips and shit like that to go on the bus. But like that was a film that was studied, contemporary film that was studied in a high school, massively popular. Early days of old Leonardo DiCaprio, one of the massive things, Claire Danes, who I liked quite a lot. She was in My So-Called Life and went on to be in that other bloody spy TV series and all that. Great film. And I generally like Baz Luhrmann films for not so much the story, but his production values and sensibility. And all the incredible dressmakers and costumes and stuff in his films are just like off the planet. It's like watching a real life stage musical, but as a film, basically. But yeah, like sign me up for fucking Luhrmann's Schwarzenegger Macbeth.
I definitely watch it. And just like when I say though, like Jack Slater movie, like say even if they had a John McTiernan, like a serious script, you know, he, you know, like and I know when I say obviously, and within the context of Last Action Hero, Jack Slater movies are a bit over the top, but in the real world, if that was,
I wouldn't say they're even over the top. They're like pretty much just straight up action 80s films.
But if you had like say a Die Hard type tone directed by John McTiernan,
yes,
Arnold Schwarzenegger as your lead and Charles Dance as your main villain, like that's got all you need there for a seriously cool action movie.
Right, and it's like I mentioned the other week when we were doing Demolition Man, we had a villain there who had the goatee and the hair, who kind of reminded me of Hans Gruber in Die Hard. And now we've got a director, McTiernan, doing Last Action here. Another villain's got the goatee, the short
Yeah.
hair. It's almost like shorthand for like villain in this era.
KARL's dance as Benedict is so good in this. He is both sinister and hilarious.
He's wonderful,
in
and like he's just the right side of almost camp. Would you say he's camp or not? He's like just on the border there, like the kind of camp quality to him. But it's like serious. It's not like Batman 66 camp. It's like actual serious. Like he's a villain, but when he ends up getting the ticket that Danny had at the start that took him into the film, he ends up going out of the film into the real world, and he's just like, he's not just a good villain. He's like your James Bond genius level villain who's like, he immediately grasps the real world. Bad guys can get away with whatever the hell they want, and the good guys don't always win. And I've got this magic movie ticket, and I'm going to start pulling movie monsters from King Kong to Hannibal Lecter to fucking Bram Stoker's Dracula, which we see in the video rental store in the background right there. So the Telegraph, that because it was just a contemporary film. And he's and then occasionally mentions Adolf Hitler. I'm just going to get history's greatest fucking monsters, both real and fictional, because they're all recorded on celluloid, and pull them out and go like do fucking Ocean's 11 with like bad guys. So he's a complete and utter bastard.
Oh, complete scumbag. I love how he.
But you love him. He's charming as well. He's also charming. Look at him. He's a gentleman. He looks like he could be a Bond villain.
And like, you know, he's obviously, because within the context of a Jack Slater movie character, he's obviously written to be a fairly extreme, eccentric villain. But even he realizes when he's in the real world that the real world is a really shitty place.
Yeah, it's shitty.
He's like this moment,
especially this
moment we're looking
taxi driver New York neighborhood there, it is garbage.
Because he's asking that girl in this scene, he's asking this young prostitute, like, how old are you? And he kind of seems
he's disgusted that she's actually prostituting herself, and she looks desperate, and she's probably a junkie as well. She's probably like really down her luck and really fucked up. And even him, who's a fucking sociopath who will kill you as soon as look at you, is just like, really? Just go away.
His next moment of realization, like literally that happens straight after this, someone gets shot and robbed in an alleyway.
I love that
so
scene
they can
so
take
much.
his shoes, and he's like, take his shoes.
Yeah, the shoes, and that was a real fucking thing. That wasn't made up. That was real. From like, you look at like LA and riots and gangland violence, people did get shot and steal fucking Reeboks and Adidas and Nike fucking shoes and shit. But yeah, that part was grim. But the other part where he goes, excuse me, I'm going to test the theory. He goes up to this mechanic, could be fucking Putty from Seinfeld, and he's just like, yeah, mate, what do you want? What do you want? And he just goes and shoots and points black. He's like, I've shot somebody and I did it on purpose. And he looks around like, I've shot someone, and someone upstairs in the apartment's like, yeah, shut up down there, buddy. I'm trying to sleep.
It's brilliant. It's like, I've murdered a man and I want to confess. Hey, shut up down there.
When I saw that in the cinema, like when I was a teenager, I laughed my head off maniacally with that scene. I was like, that was just so good.
It's probably my favorite scene nearly in the movie, and it's his best moment in the movie. It's so funny. He even shoots his gun into the ground a couple of times to try and get some attention, and nobody even bothers. Like, nobody cares, you know? So yeah, really, really putting over New York as a dank, hellish shithole in the real world.
That's great.
Just
That's
an awful, awful place. But yeah, so.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
You go.
I was going to say, within the context of the Slater character, though, Benedict, he's just very entertaining. Like, he hates his bosses at Travaldi. He can't stand them.
Yeah,
he's Italian
classic mafia guy.
He's got bad interpretation, of phrases and stuff. He's like, this will be as easy as cake. And he's like, as easy as pie, you Sicilian schmuck.
Yeah, he's got that sort of upper crust English sort of snobbishness to him, which just makes him like better as a villain, where he's just like always looking down on everybody because their English and grammar is bad and because their culture is bad.
There's a funny moment earlier in the movie where when Jack Slater and Danny Cole to his house, and Jack Slater asks him, is like, "Are you a henchman?" And Benedict's like, "No, I only go as far as lackey."
Lackey. I love that line. I also love earlier on when Slater, following Danny's advice, goes to the mafia guy's house, and he goes, "Excuse me, I'd like to speak to the drug dealer over the house," which is also, if you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger prank calls on YouTube, it's one of the best lines that's been used on the soundboards that people have used over and over again.
And when the Doberman guard dogs come out, and Benedict's like, "Make
Yeah,
no
that's a
mistake,
great
you're
scene.
exceptionally well trained," and he clicks his fingers and they go into
It's
a
like
pyramid.
It's like Mr. Burns and Smithers in The Simpsons, and all of a sudden they're in a pyramid. It just cuts away from them standing. They're in a pyramid.
Yeah,
But yeah,
brilliant
they
stuff.
do
And you see
great
that
sight
does
gags
work.
as well as the puns and silly stuff.
Oh, that's brilliant. Alone. One of his best movies.
Yeah, one of his best movies. There's in Angry Video Game Nerd a couple years back, they used to do a series of they were just talking about movies with all the guys that worked on that channel behind the scenes and were mates with James Rolfe. And they made a fake video store set for that. But they did a full-size print cutout of this Sylvester Stallone as the Terminator 2 they had in the background. It was awesome.
I'll be back,
I would love to have that. I would put that in my room and have that in the background.
I'm sure if
maybe
it
I'll
hasn't
come in
been
and go,
done
maybe I
already,
won't.
I'm sure we're going to get an AI deep fake of the entire T2 movie with
Yeah,
Sly Stallone someday.
give it 10 years and yeah, someone will make that. I mean, they already did before all this AI bullshit stuff was on YouTube. If 2 or 3 years back, when people are doing basic face swaps, and I think they were using whatever versions of various programs, they did ones where they had like RoboCop versus Terminator as a film, just cutting bits together, and they had stuff with like Arnold and Sly in a film together, and then they dubbed over bits of dialogue from various films. But they were like quite creative fan edits. They weren't just relying on AI stuff. Someone put a lot of work into editing bits and pieces together. I love how when they goes into this rental shop also, there's all proper films in there. Like I can see like Young Guns, The Road Warrior, which I know is Mad Max 2 because it was just called The Road Warrior in the US, Dead Calm and Beyond. And they got the great gag. This is a Blockbuster video, but the young kid Danny is like, it's like, this is a movie. This is a movie. Like, look around. Where are the unattractive people? It's all full of models in here. It's like, oh yeah, it's California, which is a genuinely proper retort to say to that.
I love the way as well, like even that lady we saw in the previous shot, like she's in a video shop, but she's got like a full like grocery, like like she's carrying like a grocery basket, like she's just gonna be like scooping VHSs off the shelf into her basket there.
Remember how when they walk into the store, the first lady's wearing this kind of fetishy, almost like body stocking leather PVC weird outfit. I was looking at all the cameos in this. There's over 40 different bloody cameos in this film from various people. They're not all actors. Some of them are musicians, some of them models. Okay, so this one I didn't know until looking up, just like Train Spotting, who are the weird cameos. So the one who's the video store clerk when they first walk in with the kind of long gingery hair is known like her professional name is known as Angie Everhart. She was a professional Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. It's like,
man, well, Staffy looks like one.
Yeah, but they're just trying to trip me out because the line where he's like, oh, they all look like models in here. She literally is. I mean, most of them probably are, but she was a professional model known through the decade of the 90s.
Yeah, his unsuccessful attempts to try and prove they're in the movie world when he's like asking them their phone numbers and all the numbers
they're all
beginning with
555.
555. He's like, but there's 9 million people living here.
Yeah.
They can't all begin with 555.
Area codes.
But yeah, the video shop's great. And actually, we should put Young Guns down on our list someday for a chat. I'm a big fan of Young Guns
as well.
I do like the way, another thing this picture reminded me of is I remember those Warner Brothers cassette or VHS boxes being a lot larger than your standard VHS box. It was always the thing with the Warner Brothers videos.
Bigger and better and
Like
better.
Blonde Buck.
But yeah, there's great
Annie
set
Madigan
dressing all
stuff.
through this film, like random cutaway, just like a bloody digital clock radio is like can of Coca-Cola, the bedside lamp on top of a book, and just stuff that's so ordinary, you see for half a second, and it's just like so meticulous, and everything they put in there, like here, you can't read it, but off to the side it says like help the homeless and all this, and then you got the cinema, and it's all very real world practical stuff until he ends up going into the film. But I might
The real world though is so dank and depressing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like even like
it's that
just
real like
raining all
70s
the
kind of
time.
vibe to it. But before we go on to the sort of rest of what happened in the film, so a quick overview of the cast and just sort of the cameos. So we had Schwarzenegger's Jack Slater, Austin O'Brien's Danny Madigan, Charles Dance as Benedict, our villain, Murray Abraham as John Practice, Art Carney as Frank Slater, Mercedes Raul as Irene Madigan. Oh, she wasn't there. I thought I'd missed her in there. Anthony Quinn as Tony Vivaldi, Tom Noonan as the Ripper, who's in it, like he's in key scenes in the beginning and the end of another bit, but he's like just fucking fantastic. Frank McRae as Lieutenant Decker, like the lieutenant we see here, like the angry police captain, which is like a meme if you watch like cop films, 70s, 80s, the angry police captain. And then it kind of became the angry black police captain as you go on more cop films like Lethal Weapon and other ones. But he's so great. He's the very start of the film. He's like, Jack Slater, what are you doing here? What's going on? What are you doing here? Breaking all the rules. I'm going to kick your ass out of City Hall. He's doing all this. And you can just understand what he says. They're real words. Later on, we get like the back in the headquarters in LA, the police station, where Danny's like, whoa, I was just in a real police station. This is the best police station I've ever seen. It's like literally something out of a movie. There's models everywhere. There's weird ladies walking around in strange fetish outfits. There's a cartoon character voiced by Danny DeVito. There's Humphrey Bogart pulled out of a scene of black and white and stuck in, which why makes me think of Roger Rabbit. And we get the police captain again after Jack Slater's done some shenanigans. And he starts going, just making a whole bunch of like nonsense Looney Tunes voices until steam starts coming out of his ears. And it's just the best scene because it's like just all the angry police captains rolled into one, and he's just like so good at that scene. And the Tina Turner there, like blink and you'll miss her, and Tina Turner's right at the start of the like when I watched it, I'm like, man, that looks like Tina Turner. It is.
And we see Sharon Stone briefly in the cop station.
I never knew until I looked up this week. I've seen this so many times, and like, see, if you made a film like this now, anytime you see cameos, you know it's just a look-alike or something. They put a wig on and all that. It actually was Sharon Stone because like Arnold or whatever was asked to be in the film, and so it was Sharon Stone. And Robert Patrick obviously is Robert Patrick in the scene where he's like the angry cop who's T-1000. And the I'll just list some of the other camos. So I've got some notes off to the side here. So yes, we had Sharon Stone, Robert Patrick, Bogart, and black and white, which is hilarious because it's like it's not even 2 seconds. And if you don't know Bogart, you're just like, what the hell was that? He's just like in black and white, and you hear him talking his typical voice for a second. So it's a very early example of I don't know if it's computer graphics or it's just old celluloid with their spliced film, but they put them in there somehow. Towards the end of the film, we get some more really fun cameos. Jim Belushi, who during the film premiere for the new Jack Slater, we're in the real world. So both Jack Slater and the real Arnold Schwarzenegger is there himself. Maria Shriver's there as herself. Jim Belushi's like, oh, yeah, I don't really like Arnold very much, but my wife gets super turned on by him, and I just want to be there when she is. That cracked me up big time. Belushi, of course, was in Red Heat with Arnold. A lot of these cameos are people that Arnold either knows or has worked with. There's a real fun one. This one is like probably 1 second. It's Chevy Chase and David Wayans, and it says Blank Man on his hat from Blank Man. So that one's real quick. And I actually rewound the film to go back and go, is that Chevy Chase? Because it was like 1 second that he's gone. Because this is like a big red carpet premiere, and there's like hundreds of people. Tom Noonan again. Go back.
The actual,
so that,
I don't know if you noticed, but if you thought that the lady, the news reporter lady,
Lisa
looked
Gibbons.
familiar, she's yeah, she's what's her face, and
Lisa
she's in
Gibbons from
RoboCop
Entertainment
1 and
Tonight.
2. Yeah, and then like she's is it
And
Jesse
in RoboCop.
Parkins? Her name is in RoboCop as the news reporter as well.
And the other
Lots of
cameos,
familiar faces.
right around that Chevy Chase, it's like, you know, the style of The Simpsons, how the camera just pans like real fast across all these characters. It's just like that. MC Hammer is there as himself. He doesn't say anything. You just see him for like half a second. Little Richard's there, and he talks to Lisa Gibbons for a moment. You see Damon Wayans. Towards the end of the film, as we'll get into, Ian McKellen is there as Death. He's not just any Death. He's Ingmar Bergman's Death. There's also Tony Danza and James Cameron, but like they're basically out of, you know how there's lots of crowd in both the theater and the people outside. They're in the background, out of focus, but they're credited that they are actually credited as being in the film, but you can't really make them out. So they're real kind of like Easter egg cameos.
I'd like to echo my kind of statement from earlier about loving to see a serious film with Arnie and Charles Dance. I'd also love to see a serious film with Arnie and Tom Noonan as the main villain.
He's so fucking creepy as this like Ripper guy. Because like, remember in the first scene, well, the beginning of the film rather, where it's the Jack Slater and the kids watching it, he's on the rooftop and Jack Slater busts in. He walks over the top of the cop cars. He busts in on the rooftop, and the captain's like, "Don't go on there, Jack Slater. We're going to wait with the real negotiators and hostages." Blah blah blah. He just goes up there. He's got his guns, and you think, "Oh, he's just going to shoot, and it'll be over." The Ripper has got hostages, not just any hostages. They're like young kids, like 10 and under. So he's a fucking creeper as well as being a psycho. But the Ripper doesn't have a gun or anything. He's just got an axe, and like it's possibly the dumbest scene in the entire film because there's no reason why when he kicks that door open, he doesn't just shoot him in the fucking head. He just has an axe, and he's not even near the kid. Just fucking shoot him dead, and that's what he's done. But for whatever reason, he doesn't, and he ends up throwing the axe at Arnie, who like ducks out of the way, like slow motion Neo Matrix style. But we see that the Tom Noonan Ripper guy is a real crazy psycho. He's been to prison. He hates Slater. He complains about cockroaches crawling over his face when he's sleeping in this shithole prison. And when he turns up at the end of the film, which is in the real world because of this magic ticket, we see Tom Noonan walk past, and people are like, "Oh yeah, it's Tom Noonan." And then we see like this guy walk past as they think it's Tom Noonan as the Ripper in character. It's like, "What are you going to do?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to kill some people." And they're like, "What?" They just walked past. And it's like genuinely creepy. And he's obviously got prosthetics on his face to make his eyes more sunken in and his cheeks kind of out and jelly. But he's so creepy. He's so like that kind of Hannibal Lecter. He's not a physical specimen. He's a skinny dude, but he's like a Dexter villain or a Hannibal Lecter with weird stringy hair and his bad teeth, like rotten teeth in the face. He works so creepily well. Even like old bloody like Scream and that. They just have ordinary idiots wearing a stupid mask. He's just like a weird skinny dude with an axe, but he works on that like horror movie vibe.
It's a chuckle out of me every time as well, where he's like, "Lose the piece," and Jack throws down and the gun. He's like, "Just one gun, Jack," and then just emptying out all the shit. Like,
the guns out.
But this is what it's one of those things where the more of this type of stuff you've watched prior to seeing this movie, the more you'll get out of it. Like if you're like an action movie veteran watcher, you're going to think this is hilarious. Where I can see how some of the criticism that the movie got, you got the impression reading it that the people who were criticizing it, they didn't really like that action movie genre.
They probably didn't.
And they didn't really even realize that a lot of what they were watching was parody. They were kind of taking it as face value. And it's kind of like, no, it's supposed to be over the top and ridiculous. Like they're really trying to draw attention to that. Like, because you would see this like crazy
it's
shit.
like watching something from like Mike Judge, who did that Idiocracy, and the more years go by, the more relevant that Idiocracy film is.
But it's just like we were kind of saying earlier, if it had been even just a few years later, I think the perception of this would have been very different. I think a lot of people would have been saying, "Oh, this is a really clever look at the action movie genre." The timing was just a bit off, I think. It's a good though family
It works on
movie.
so
You
many
know, it's a
levels
fun
though. Like
kid adventure.
it works as a straight up silly action movie. It works as like a movie that's got social commentary and parody stuff and kind of some serious themes in the second half of it. And it's just got a lot of, and then it's got all the fun cameos and the humor. It's got cutaway gags like before bloody Family Guy existed, and
You know, it's still obviously like you mentioned with the whole Charlie and the Chocolate Factory style ticket deal. Like
that wish
there is a plot
fulfillment.
device in there that explains how we are able to go between the real world and the movie world. It's not like
Well,
a
I
kind of
totally
just a
bought into
weird.
it when I watched it the first time. I'm like, yeah, he's got the golden ticket. It's magic. Great. I'm on board. I think it totally works as a plot device. And
Well, it works as a plot. Like it works better, say, and I know this might sound like a weird movie to bring up, but like Wes Craven's, is it Wes Craven's like New Nightmare? You know,
New Nightmare,
it's the
not Nightmare on Elm Street
Nightmare
7,
on Elm Street, Nightmare on
or
Elm Street
Never Ending
7.
Story, similar thing. The kid's reading the book, and then all of a sudden he's influencing the events of the story.
Yeah, and it's just like happening. Whereas at least in this, we're kind of given a kind of it might be a bit of a MacGuffin deal, but at least it's something that explains the bridging between the real world and the movie world,
Yeah,
as
well,
opposed to you just accepting that it can happen.
I do enjoy stories that break the fourth wall or have like meta commentaries, but it's a fine line to walk to have it work well. And I think this film does it very well. Like, I mean, something else that does the old fourth wall breaking, something like Being John Malkovich. That's like total head trip of a film to watch. But like, it's you can do comedy stuff, you can do serious drama. It's not easy material to do. So I think it's skill and credit to the people who worked on this film to pull it off so well. And for me, it's got serious stuff, it's got comedy stuff, but overall, it's a joyful, fun film to watch in the style of like Roger Rabbit, which also has some serious fucked up stuff in it if you really pay attention to what's going on in the background of that.
The fart jokes are like top notch as well.
Louis
Like I love the
Fart.
way I love the way for the rooftop funeral, the way Benedict activates the bomb is to pull his finger. Like that's so funny.
I didn't get that because he's wearing a watch, which is like a time bomb thing with this gas thing in play. I didn't notice it. He literally pulled his finger. Also, like the aerial photography, and when we come in on this big mafia funeral scene of this like well-known, respected member of the mafia family has died. So all these multiple families turn up, which calls back to the first scene in the film where they're saying these different families are coming together. But it turns out it's just a trap to kill a lot of them. As we zoom in on the helicopter shot, it's got this like red and blue, weird high contrast building top. But it just looks so beautiful when you see it. It's like real crazy Andy Warhol pop art sort of colors as you zoom in instead of just being boring old concrete. And the thing I love about that rooftop scene is the kid ends up getting into a crane and operating it. He goes, I've never even driven a car. It's like, well, you're not going to figure the crane out, kid. But somehow the thing's swinging around everywhere. Arnold ends up jumping onto it with the body of the Louis Fart to keep the gas, which is going to be like a lethal airborne gas and kill everyone. But meanwhile, all the mobs families are every single one of them has a gun. Even old Nonna and everybody pulls out a gun of these hundreds of people, all aiming at him. It's like such a good scene.
That awesome. The kind of shootout with the chopper as well. Really great action. Like when and the elevator coming apart, like as it's just being blown to bits. Like that's actually top notch. Like real action movie stuff, and it's kind of just thrown in as a big laugh, which is so great as well. Like that, it's just kind of part of this like gag scene almost,
I just love the irony that Arnold's trying to save the life of all these like arsehole mafia people that are trying to kill him.
And of course, the ultimate though fart punchline as well when it's dropped into when the body drops into the tar pit, and we get the big bubble.
The La Brea tar pits.
And then silent but deadly line from Arnie,
and even before that scene, they're driving in the car, like Jack Slater and the kid, and he's like they're both just going back and forth, bit of banter, going, oh, what's happening in the mobs and this and that. He's like, wait a minute, it's like Louis Fart, he's gonna pass gas one more time. They've worked out
Oh,
like
good.
that. You know, there's bombs been planted in them.
That's a nerve
And I love the
gas
scene.
bomb, you know.
There's a fun scene about the middle of the film where the kid realizes he's not just, I mean, obviously he realizes in the film with Jack Slater when everything goes crazy, the guys are chasing after him in the cherry red pickup while the AC/DC rockin' music is playing. They're throwing dynamite everywhere. And Jack Slater's like, hey, what are you doing in here? They're like, get down, and all that business. There's a point where he's on a bicycle and he's riding a bicycle and he's like, oh, it's movie logic. I won't die. I'll be fine. I'm riding along. And he's like, I'm the comedy sidekick. I could die. I'm the comedy sidekick.
And then we get the excellent kind of flip of that later on in the real world when Jack just thinks he can play chicken with the taxi cab and he just crashes straight into it in the alley. And it's a really nasty crash as well, like with the fucking horn going off in
and
the
he
car.
Could have been
like...
seriously injured or killed. And the kid's like, you could have died. This is the real world. It's like, oh no, it's a whatever model. This, it's got airbags. It's got this. And it's like, oh yeah, that kind of checks out.
The poor like odd job level henchman though gets really fucked up. Like he goes like right through the windshield.
Actually,
like
I think
blood
it actually
all
is
over
odd job is in this film. Like...
Yeah. He's like, he's Benedict's like sidekick for a little while before he gets got. Chevy Chase. God, Tom Noonan looks like a freak.
Look at the teeth. Even the crooked teeth are just so disgusting.
He's we should throw not Red Dragon. Manhunter. That's the one we should throw on to the watch list one of these days.
Yeah, Manhunter's a
He's
good
really
film.
good.
I gotta watch
really good at that, Tom Noonan.
I'm gonna watch Thief this week because I've never seen it, like Michael Mann and James Caan.
Gonna get a bit of a Michael Mann binge going. But
it's get your blue light filters going.
How do you feel about the what could have been the blossoming relationship between Danny's mum and Jack Slater when he goes into the real world?
That's a really good scene because like he's Jack Slater's via Danny's come into the real world. He's realized that if you punch a glass, it actually hurts your fist and things have consequences. But then when he goes to take Danny home, he's like, oh, you've got to look after your mother. What are you doing? Going out at midnight, you stupid kid. He just acts like a stereotypical overprotective parent. And like, I thought that scene was so fun. And they never kind of tell you, does she know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is, or do you just think he's just some guy who's just a cop and has been protective of the kid? She doesn't look like someone who's like a movie fiend or probably has no idea who Arnold Schwarzenegger is and doesn't recognize him. I get the impression I get watching it. But I thought that scene was great because he just acts like he goes from bringing this over-the-top action movie invincible star to just being like a regular dude who's like, oh yeah, you be respectful to your mom and come home and do your homework and all this sort of stuff. All of a sudden, he's the detonator.
He's not as two-dimensional as we were originally led to believe. And of course, there is that darker element because we don't find out till later on in the movie that his son does actually die in that opening
his son's
scene.
dead. I was meant to touch on that earlier. We go from the beginning of the film with the rooftop scene and Tom Noonan and the Ripper, and we see him like kind of charge, and some stuff happens in the film, but then it cuts away and we see Danny watching it in the cinema, and we don't know that off screen we didn't see that the kid died. And then Danny in the apartment, when he meets the daughter, we see the photo and Jack Slater pauses for a moment and you can see he gets like depressed and he's about to start crying. And that's when he realized that his kid died. And then later in the film, he acknowledges that. It's like, I'm just a fictional character. And then when he meets Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like, I hate you. Because it's like, you're responsible for like kid dying.
Yeah. And that's a pretty, like, you know, and that is the type of, because you just know that was like, it was almost like a Lethal Weapon 2 type deal where just like when his girlfriend gets like shot up or whatever, or gets drowned, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, this is going to push our main hero character over the edge to get revenge. So just like, it's a plot device for the film. But if that character is supposed to be like a real dude, it's like, oh, you've just ruined his life here, you know?
Yeah, true.
Just for the sake of dramatic, you know, to push the plot along.
Yeah. But that same scene too is where the Benedict busts into the apartment and threatens the kid Danny. They try to like beat up Bridget Wilson, who's the daughter, but she gets the guy in the other room. She's going, oh no, don't hurt me. And she's like beating the hell out of him, making stupid sounds,
screaming. Yeah.
And then the kid we see is quite smart. And he's like, oh, you should just leave us alone. There's like a whole bunch of money in that nightstand. Why don't you just take it and go? And one of the henchmen guys is like, hey, boss, there's like $4,000 in here. And he's like, really? And then they burn it, and it makes the colored smoke. And that's how Slater knows to come back, because it's the funny money, fake bootleg money that he mentioned. Oh, if you burn it, it makes weird colors because it's printed with different inks. So the kid's pretty smart. He worked out that they would burn it and they'd send a smoke signal so that Slater would come back and rescue them.
There's also a very, very funny moment where he's like, Benedict, if you harm one hair on her head, and then Benedict's just like, stop! And he grabs the hair and just plucks it. It's like, you were saying?
Yeah, that's where he's like just the right side of Cam for just kind of like just kind of over the top.
I also love how every time there's like a Benedict bomb in the movie, it's always the most kind of convoluted, like just could never work in real life. Like, you know, the one at the start where the bomb is activated by Jack shuffling through the cards, going 5.
Yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you stop at the first one?
3. And then
they have the eyeball where the cop twists it. He's like, no, don't do it.
It's like, vengeance will be, and then it's mine, you know?
Yeah. I love towards the start of the film where the Jack Slater goes to his favorite whatever cousin's house who has been nearly murdered and beaten to death. The other cops are there, being told it's a drug bust, so they can go there, not knowing there's a bomb in the house. And when it blows up, the kid watching the film is like, Jack Slater's fine, cops are dead. You see them in the palm tree hanging down. He's like, ugh.
2 days till retirement before he passes.
Yeah, exactly.
On,
2 days to retirement.
We even got a little bit of a Lethal Weapon style sax music plays when he says that line as well, which I thought was a nice touch. Speaking of the music, man, great music in this movie. Like great songs like Megadeth, AC/DC, but also just a great like Michael Kamen soundtrack to the whole thing. Really gets the blood pumping.
Yep. Way before Iron Man came along, they had some good AC/DC in there.
Yeah. No, man, I have to say, every time I watch it, I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid, really, being honest with you. It just hit me right. Like I feel like I was
enjoyed it. Watched it that many times, but I probably enjoyed it the most. No joke. I enjoyed it the most watching it in this week. So I haven't watched it in at least 10 years. And I've watched so many more fucking films and stuff since then that I got more gags and more out of it.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of those things, the older you get, the more you can appreciate that type of thing as well.
And it's kind of film that it'd be easy to look back and go, oh, it's kind of cheesy or it hasn't aged well. I mean, there's other stuff from that era that hasn't aged well. And I think this has aged really well. And I think it's still, I'm actually impressed at how intelligent the film is, because in my kid mind, teenage mind, I'm like, oh, it was kind of fun and silly and cheesy and I enjoyed it. But it's actually pretty intelligent and well written, and there's a lot of good meta commentary and other shit in there.
Like I had said earlier on about the bad release timing and whatnot, apparently Arnold himself actually warned them not to release the movie the same time as Jurassic Park. He actually told them just to wait a month, and they didn't listen to him.
Extinct. What are you doing?
I'm here. Kill me. I'm here. Yeah, I just.
I can't remember if I mentioned, but in the cameos, so we had MC Hammer, we had Chevy Chase, JCVD, John Claude is in there as himself.
Yes.
And a lot of the guys had worked with Arnold, and I went, what's the JCVD? He was the Predator.
That's right. He was almost the original Predator.
That's a really deep cut.
Yeah. No, I love it, man, and it's one of those, like, you'll probably learn something new about it each time you rewatch it, or notice something new that you haven't noticed before.
Well, there was some obscure Euro fucking pop star or something that no one in America or the rest of the world has any fucking clue who they are. And I was reading a blog earlier today, I really looked at several references other than me watching it and recognizing MC Hammer and Lisa Gibbons. I was looking for the real obscure references. It's like James Cameron's in the background out of focus. Lloyd Kaufman's in there somewhere, but you can't see him in focus. But he's in there somewhere. And then there's a joke credit for Troma Film Studios in the end credits. And that's what made me look it up. I'm like, why the hell is there a weird credit for Troma Films? And apparently Lloyd Kaufman has a weird cameo, but you can't, he's out of focus in the big crowd scenes like The Simpsons where it pans over and you can't really see who's in there. So there's so much cool stuff happening in there. It's really a film that kind of rewards multiple viewings.
I reckon this, because of how everything worked out with the different movie studios, like, you know, the way these days we essentially have 3 or 4 companies own
mega companies that own everything.
If the last action hero was made today, like in that cop, you know, in the cop station scene, for example, you'd probably be able to see like RoboCop, Judge Dredd. They'd be able to have all sorts of
Dredd.
Yeah, just because so much of the copyright, so much of the stuff now is owned by the same studio. Whereas I'm sure back then they probably had to do a lot of wrangling to make sure they could include certain characters.
The same with this and Roger Rabbit. There's a lot of favors called in, and a lot of people who knew a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, or they couldn't have had certain cameos and certain people and characters together in the same film. And actually, the other thing I love is
at the same time.
Remember how we get the Robert Patrick cameo, and that's the one where the kid's like, "Hey, did you see that?" And he like calls it out. He's like, "Hey, that's the fucking guy who's like trying to kill you in the other film." I love that he's just like straight talking to the audience when he says that. But also remember, Robert Patrick also appeared as the T-1000 in Wayne's World as well.
That's right. That's right. The T-1000 has been all over the place.
Yeah.
You know? He's just dropping in and out of all these movies. No, it's a good time, you know, and it's a feel good. I like, you know, can probably tell talking about it the whole time. It just brings a smile to my face in general. This movie, it's just,
for sure, and it's
a rollicking
really,
good time.
It's kind of the end of an era. I mean, like Schwarzenegger went on to other films like Eraser. I'm not really a fan of. Last Days, don't really care for it. It's a bit nonsensical. Like this one, and what's the one with Jamie Lee Curtis? Last James Cameron one he did.
True Lies. Lies, great movie.
That and this one are kind of the end of an era that cap off Schwarzenegger's best stuff. The only thing I really enjoyed years later was like Last Ride or Last Run, whatever, with Johnny Knoxville, where it was like Arnold was the small town sheriff. That felt like a kind of fun kind of callback to like the earlier 80s style of stuff. He's in some other like real dog shit films as cameos and other stuff, but it's no different than Bruce Willis, Jackie Chan, Jean-Claude. They all went on to do other films and stuff, but it's not really them that changed. It's the film climate and the world changed around them, and people want to see different stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is just garbage, not worth watching.
Yeah, and some of the stuff, like, you know, at least this movie was made as a parody. There's a lot of movies that were made since then that weren't supposed to be parodies, but come across as parodies because they're so cheap and just not good in general, you know. So
it's true.
I can just appreciate something like this a little bit more. Do we know yet what's on the cards for next week's show?
Do we want to spin the wheel? We're heading into catalog season.
Oh, yes.
We've got 5 options, and we'll spin the wheel. You've got to imagine it in your mind. Go into your little mind theater and spin it around. Dealer's choice. We've got 5 options. We've got Kenner 1994 catalog, thanks to Epic Badger. We've got the Biker Mice catalog, also thanks to Epic Badger. We've got Ninja Turtles 1996 catalog, Transformers 1997, and Turtles of Grayscale. So spin the yo DJ, spin that wheel, and just take a moment, think about which one. We can talk about all of these. We'll get to them, but which one we want to hit up first?
How about we go for Transformers 1987, just because it was a crazy ass year.
It was a world transformed. The Transformers will return after these messages.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 87. Crazy year. Crazy, you know, mix of animals and pretendery stuff.
Gimmicks.
All sorts of mad.
If you think gimmicks in wrestling, wait until you see Transformers 87.
And of course, we are recording this on a Saturday morning. It is WrestleMania weekend. So
it is too. Yeah, it's going to be fighting Roman. We are recording this on vinyl, available in limited edition in your mind theater. So just download it into your ears and eyes.
But you know, as always, I want to know, folks who watched and listened today, are you a fan of Last Action Hero? You a fan of Arnie? And hey, sure, why not
It's
let
not
us
a
know if you're gonna
tumor.
watch
Don't be
WrestleMania.
rude.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor.
You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres. He kicks that guy right off the screen. And he was a cop. He didn't have no reason to do
fellow
that.
cop. He also punches the
The poor
lieutenant
guy's just
governor in
doing
the
his
face.
job. Can you imagine the insurance claim? It was like, I got kicked in the nuts so hard by Jack Slater that I flew off the screen.
Yeah, they had to surgically remove my balls from my
He
stomach.
just flew away like a football. Poor guy just doing his job.
He was just doing his job. And like he probably has to meet that guy day to day in police station, you know?
Imagine going back to work next week. There's that guy that kicked me higher than the van. And
yeah. Interesting guy, Jack Slater. You know, maybe not the best co-worker if you have to like work in the same precinct.
Oh, I think I already mentioned it, but the other cool cameo, I'm sure I already said it, the fucking Swiss cheese brain now, but the cartoon cat was Danny DeVito, who was also with him in Twins.
Yes. And Junior as well, we prefer twins. Yeah, good times, good times. I hope we all hope everybody watching had a good time and got some good feels going for Last Action Hero. But like I said, let us know, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week for some 87 Transformers.
Yep, they saved Optimus's brain. So they can turn into a brain. Turn into a headmaster and a power master and whatever else. Of course, in Japan they had the breast masters.
Yeah.
Makes me think of Jim Carrey in living color.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.